Okay, here's homework help for day 2, week 2 in the first marking period. So I'm going to start off with the second problem because this first problem we're going to do two different ways. So in dividing fractions, I want you to remember these steps. You have to keep, change, flip, KCF. That means we want to keep the first fraction the same, 6 over 8. We're going to change division to multiplication, and we're going to flip 6 to 6 over 2. Now, once you do that, it's a multiplication problem, and you just have to solve that. You can look for reducing. For example, look at this 6 and 2. Think of what they divide by. They both divide by 2. So I'm going to divide 6 by 2 and get 3. And I'm going to divide 2 by 2 and get 1. Now I'm going to multiply. So 6 times 3 is 18. 8 times 1 is 8, which is 18 over 8. Now, I can reduce that further by dividing by 2, because they're both even numbers, which is 9 over 4. But remember, when you have an improper fraction, 9/4, you need to change it to a mixed number by dividing. So 9 divided by 4. 4 goes into 9 twice, which is 8, subtract 1. And our answer is going to be these three numbers, but you write it as 2 and 1/4. All right, now for the second problem. So we have to do some division here. 6,476 divided by 12. And I'm going to do this two different ways. The first way I'm going to do is the traditional way. So we're going to figure out how many times 12 goes into everything. The second way I'm going to do is partial quotient. So what I want you to do as you do this with me is focus on the way that you like better. So if you don't watch the traditional way, then you might want to skip over this first part. So first thing, 12 doesn't go into this 6, which is 6,000, but it will go into the 64 5 times. And 5 times 12 is 60. You subtract and bring down the 7. Now, 12 is going to go into our 47. It's going to go into 3 times, which is 36. Then I'm going to subtract and bring down the 6. And now I have to figure out how many times 12 goes into this 116. Now I know 12 times 10 is 120, which is too big, so it's got to be 9. So 12 goes 9 times, and 12 times 9 is 108. Subtract 8. And I get 539, remainder 8. So that's the traditional way. Now we're going to do it using partial quotient. So this way I actually like better. So I'm going to rewrite it here, 6,476 divided by 12. Now, you may have done it in 5th grade where you have the line down and you write your numbers over here. And you can still do that if you like it. But I actually like to write the numbers on top. Same numbers you would write on the side. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to figure out a number that 12 will go into 6,476. So I know, for example, 12 times 10 is 120. So 12 times 100 is 1,200. Now, keeping that in mind, I also know that if I multiply 12 by a number, say 12 times 5 is 60, 12 times 50 is 600, just add one more zero on a 60, 12 times 500 is 6,000. So out of all of these, you could pick any one. That's the cool thing about partial quotient. I'm going to go with the one that has the number closest to this, but you can't go over. So what I'm going to start with is 500. So I know 12 can go into 6,476 at least 500 times, which is 6,000. And then I'm going to subtract. I have 6, 7, 4. So I have to figure out 12 into 476. So I'm going to get rid of any. I'm going to look at my numbers over here. It's got to be smaller than 476. So can't be this one, can't be this one. I can do 10 times if I want, or I can go bigger. For example, I know 12 times 20 is 240. You can do any one you want as long as you're not bigger than 476. So I'm going to use this one here, 12 times 20. So 12 can go into 476 20 times, and that's 240. Now I'm going to subtract 6, 3, 2. And 240 is just a little bit too big for 236. So this time I'm going to use 10. 12 times 10 is 120. I'm going to subtract. So I have 116. 12 times 10 is just a little bit too big. Maybe now I'll do 12. Remember, I know 12 times 9 is 108. And I get 8. And I can't, 12 is bigger than 8, so I know I'm done. Now, what I do is I add up all of these numbers. And if I do that, if you could do some mental math, I have 500 plus 20 is 520, plus 10 is 530, plus 9 is 539, remainder 8. So if you are a partial quotient person, you're going to want to use that way. But remember, your work down here may look totally different from what I just did, and that's okay. And you could write your helper facts over here if that helps. All right, that's it for today. So I hope that helped. If you have any questions, make sure you ask me in class. Thanks.